Hi, very good afternoon to all the educators who joined in. Good afternoon, Nina ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. Good evening, Nina ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. In one go, namaskar. Otherwise, we'll spend the entire time saying good afternoon and good evening.
Very true. This is a very natural kindergarten class and the foundational year classes.
We have to greet.
Yeah.
Meet and greet.
Meet and greet.
Absolutely.
Teachers will wait for another 1 or 2 minutes and then we'll begin with the session. It's
Sure.
exactly 3:59 by my clock. So let's wait for a few more minutes for some more educators to join in.
Sure.
And I would request, there are a couple of people who are joined in with the device name, Oppo A12. And yeah, so if you could please rename yourself, that will be really nice. We'll really know if we are talking to you, and even in our participant list that you had joined. All right, we'll wait for another 1 minute. That's it. And then we'll start the session. All right. So I know nowadays all the teachers are very busy preparing for the new session, getting ready with the curriculum, with the planning, with the syllabus mapping, and going through the new books. Some of you have already begun this session, I believe. How many of you have already begun with the new session? You can raise your hand. Going to, okay. June ma'am says going to. Yeah. What about the rest? You can use the chat box. That way I'll also get to know that all of you know how to use the chat box. Though we've been doing Zoom sessions for a very long time now. All right. All right. So I have people who all are the co-host for this meeting. They're all from Team Madhubun. So that way it will just be easy for you to reach out to any one of us in case you have any issues. All right. Now it's exactly 2:04 by my clock. I think we'll begin with the session at this point. Once again, good afternoon, good evening to everyone, and welcome to this session of the Foundations. It gives us an immense pleasure at Madhubun Books to host all the educators from foundational years to this session today. Today, we'll be talking on value creating education with Ms. Nina Gulabani. Ms. Nina has been working in the field of foundational years with students of this age group for a very long time. She's worked with organizations, she's worked with the social organization and social causes. She's helped students for non-profit organizations as well, wherein their learning and growth has been monitored and effectively created with her. She's very good with using natural resources for teaching as teaching tools, and low cost and easy for the teachers managing tools that can be used for better growth and better learning for all the students. So that is her strength, and we would love to hear from her what she has to say and how we can create an environment, a learning environment, which is very, very productive for the students and easy to manage for the teachers also. You know, it's both ways. If I do something that's not sustainable, that I cannot continue for a very long time, I will tend to not do it for a very long time, right? It's easy said. A lot of sessions we have done, a lot of sessions I'm sure all of you have attended, which give us techniques. जो हमें ऐसे methods, ऐसे techniques बताते हैं, which are very good and they should be applied. But in the scheme of events, it's not very practical to use them every time. So that is where Nina Ma'am specializes. She'll give you some methods, some techniques which are more sustainable. It's very easy to take into your stride. Just a little conscious effort is all that is needed. So without further delay, I'm going to invite Nina Ma'am on stage. And a few things for everybody. We'll keep all of you on mute just to avoid any background noise by chance. You know, we all know you're at home at this point. Somebody turns on a button and we hear a little conversation at the background. So should you have any questions, any doubts, you could raise your hands. You can put it up in the chat box. The entire Madhubun team is there. We'll take up your questions towards the end of the session. And we'll also allow you to unmute yourself again towards the end of the session. We'll try and wind up the entire conversation in within 1 hour, that's 60 minutes, so that even you enjoy it. It's crisp and more effective for all of us. Thank you so much. Nina Ma'am, over to you.
Thank you, Himani, and namaskar. Good afternoon to all of you who are here on this platform today. And many thanks to Madhubun Books for having organized such sessions. I mean, they're going to be continuing to organize, I'm sure. And it's indeed a privilege to be here. So is it okay if I use a mix of Hindi and English so that we are not very, very formal? We are formal yet informal, because the audience with whom we work, that is young children in their early childhood, in their early years, we cannot be very structured. We cannot be very formal. We have to be formal, and yet there has to be a beautiful flavor of informality. So I would request Himani, if you could give me the rights to share my...
I've done that.
And in the meanwhile, I'll just quickly would like to, by the time we do this technical handing over and taking over, I would like all of you to quickly, maybe a split of a second, write what is it that you actually understand from when you all have heard and you all read value creating education, right? So what does it come to you? Because I know everyone is going to have a very different view and a perspective of value creating education.
Ma'am, I've already given. So meanwhile, ma'am shares her screen. Yes. So what do you understand? What is your expectation from the session? What do you think you're going to learn? Even if somebody wants to write, I'm open to new ideas. That's okay.
Himani, I'm still not getting that thing for the screen share.
Ma'am, you're the co-host. You should be able to, there should be a share screen option. I made you the co-host.
Because I should have that screen share option on my screen. That's not coming. Yeah. So let's get going quickly. I just get one. So
I'll just do it once again. Is it there now?
Yeah. Let's pause, stop recording, breakout rooms, participation, security, doesn't say screen share.
No.
8 minutes.
Participant chat, share screen.
There is no, it's only showing me pause and stop recording and breakout rooms. It's not showing.
It's okay.
You want me to join again? Or should I-
Yeah, just once.
Okay, friends, keep going. I've only 3, 2, 3, yes, 4. Don't call.
Meanwhile, we'll keep an eye on the chat, ma'am.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Okay, interesting. I'm so happy that you are all aligned in your thoughts, and I'm going to be super different.
Ma'am, if you can just try and rejoin once. I think that will help.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay, keep writing. I'm just going to come back in a minute.
All right, so I have inculcating moral values, interesting ways of learning moral values, developing moral and ethical values. What else? So value education, value creating education is only associated with morals. Anything else? So the question, Gurvinder ma'am, was that you heard the topic of the session was value creating education. So what was your understanding? What is your understanding from value creating education?
Himani, it still
Yes.
says you're restricted from screen sharing in this meeting.
Again, it says this because do you see the share screen option though?
No, that's not coming. That's why. The screen share, because it says right at the top, you're restricted from screen sharing in this meeting.
I've given you the co-host. The moment you entered, I gave you the co-host permissions. It should give you the right restriction.
Earlier also, the co-host request came in earlier,
Oh,
but it's still not showing the.
just try on the share screen or maybe the arrow next to the share screen.
I have a chat. Shared screen ही नहीं दिखा रहा ना.
That's a share screen.
You're restricted from screen sharing in this meeting. I'm not putting OK this time.
Ma'am, can you see if there is any more button, or anything like maybe it's the options are not shown.
Oh no, there is no more button. It's mute, video, audio, security, participants, chat, pause, stop recording, breakout rooms, reactions, and
After the chat, it should be share screen.
Yes.
Usually it is, but it is not. It's not showing. I think maybe because.
Nina, ma'am, if you can send your presentation, if you just even if you'll WhatsApp me, it will work. Anything.
Okay. No, I will send it to you on mail. The green button is not coming.
Share screen. Sure. I've changed, I've tried every option from my end also. It should.
Because my presentation is done on MacBook. So anyway, I'm sending you both the PowerPoint also. It's going through a Google Drive because it's a
That's
heavy
fine.
thing. Because I tried it on my Zoom also, that the presentation working, as able to do the screen share.
Ma'am, how do you put this background? Maybe that is why.
नहीं, but मैंने
Background लगा के check किया था.
हाँ.
कोई बात नहीं, that's fine. So ma'am, this, the content is going to, you've already sent it, ma'am?
Yeah, I've sent the mail to you.
So you can continue with the talking. I'll just
because it's still saying you're restricted. Okay, anyway. So let's get going. Let me look at the chat box. So what does the chat box say? Please repeat the question. Okay. So the question is, what is value creation? Okay. So let's, many of you have written different things. So one of the things that is very critically, clearly coming out. So someone says well-being and betterment of students, positive value behavior, holistic development. Then it comes about ethical and moral education. Superb. What we are going to be now doing is, let's first quickly have a discussion around what is value creating education. So we have three layers that we have in today's topic. One is understanding value creation education. Second, it automatically leads to your understanding the child, because value creating education is all about focusing on the human element. So human element is the key aspect of your value creating education. So when the moment, just a minute, please, just a minute. आरती मैं मीटिंग में हूं, मैं अभी फोन नहीं उठा सकती हूँ, प्लीज. Sorry. So when we say value creating education, so what value creating education? Oh, thank you. That's wonderful. Thank you, Himani. It still says you are restricted from screen sharing. But anyway, now you will have to take it very quickly and keep shifting it. So let's move. So I was saying we are doing the three layers. So we'll first understand what is value creating education. Then it automatically, you will see that when we talk of the value creating education, it just talks about, it helps us to understand the child better. And when we understand the child better and we are into that frame of mind as an educator, we end up making our whole learning process based on holistic development. Next. We'll keep moving. Okay. So what is the purpose of education? I think before we move on to value creating education, it's very important. And many of you who were there in the first session when we had just launched this community, I did speak about the purpose of education. So when we say purpose of education, it is nothing and nothing but your happiness of each child. Now, when I bring to you, and we will be talking about things around value creating education, I just want to tell you that this is nothing theoretical that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about from any books. This is something that I have practiced it, and me and my team had practiced this for nearly 2 decades in this early childhood center that I had founded way back in 2003. And all the pictures that you see are not picked up from Google. They are the original images from our own center. So you can very well relate with the presentation. So purpose of education is happiness. So when you say happiness, you see that very clearly. You don't have to make an assessment. When you are working with young children, it's very easy to assess from their body language, from their smile, from the way they behave, that children are happy. Next one. Okay, so now many a time we confuse happiness. This would have been the second question I would have asked each one of you to define happiness, right? So most of us look at happiness and we confuse it with momentary pleasure. Now, momentary pleasure is, as a child, I receive a toy. Today, I've got a promotion and I'm very happy. But what happens next? With the promotion comes a massive responsibility. With that toy comes the scolding that please इसको ध्यान से रखना है बच्चा, ये बहुत महंगा है, हमने आपको सारी बुक्स लाके दी हैं, फाड़ना नहीं है कोई किताब, राइट? नया बैग आया है आपके लिए, नया बॉटल है, गुम नहीं करके आना. So वो जो मोमेंट्री, वो जो उनको सामान मिलने की हैप्पीनेस है, वो बड़ी मोमेंट्री है, बिकॉज उसके साथ बहुत सारे TNC आते हैं, terms and conditions. So let's understand what is genuine happiness, something that we are aiming at and we are wanting to achieve through the value creating education. Now, genuine happiness can only be realized through the human bonds. So this is bonds with and interactions amongst people. So the core of the value creating education, or at the heart of the value creating education, is none other than human beings. So now teachers are also human beings, children are also human beings, parents are also human beings, and all the other interactions that we have, even with our environment, with land, with nature, with material resources, is all very much determined by the interaction that or the way it is created and approached by the human element, and that is the educator. Next, please. Can we move on to the next slide, please? No, that's where it happens. Okay. So, how do children become happy? I said the purpose of education is happiness. So, children become happy when they create value. Now, when I say create value, I'll come to so just have a little patience. We'll understand that as to how do we, now you see, it's very, very self-explanatory from this image. We create value. Now, what did we do? We only facilitated the whole process. Now, what is the child doing? They've collected some resources from the environment, some leaves, some grass, some seeds. So all that is put together in a bowl, and maybe a circle or something has been drawn on the that. Even if you don't do, it's absolutely fine, right? Now, what is the child doing with this, with these resources? The child is creating value. And if you give the similar resources to 20 different children, they're going to create something totally different. Now, that is the beauty. That is what they have created, what they have drawn out of, with those resources, with those materials, in that environment, with the facilitation of an educator, is what we call creating the value. Now, that's absolutely original. They're not copying it from anywhere. It's a original. So value creation is always original, right? So that's what we mean when we say create value. And when we allow anybody, whether it's a child or the teacher, to create value, trust me, my 20 years of experience is validated. They'll always be happy, because that is prelude to happiness. Yeah, next one. Now, what is the value creating education philosophy? Let's understand it a little about the philosophy. Now, usually what happens, all of us as educators, including me, till the time that I came across this value creating education philosophy, I was also going through the same mode. So what are we focusing on? Oh, this is my content, this is my curriculum, and this is what I have to pour into my child's life, right? So we are actually becoming like taps. So these taps are pouring into the beaker, the child, and into their minds, we are pouring knowledge. But value creating education is not just pouring knowledge into child's mind. But what it is basically equipping these children with some methods. And what are these methods? We don't even have many times give them method. They're an environment that we create for them. The resources that we give it to them is the thought that goes on, where we see that how are we enabling these children to create their own knowledge, one, and through their own efforts. So we are not creating that knowledge for them. Now let's look at this little thing of the ladder that has been placed there. The ladder has been placed there, and children have been asked to go and explore it. So you would see someone would step on the bar, someone would take one step, someone may jump out, and someone may just walk over it, some may jump over it, and some may even just stand besides and tend to observe it, right? So what we are trying to do is, with that small, simple resource on the floor that has been laid out in the outdoors or indoors, we are helping children to construct their own knowledge through their own efforts. Now, if you look at the second picture, now many a time we feel that when we are giving books to children, we have to do the entire process ourselves as educators. We have to tell them, ye page kholo, ab ye padhenge, pehle yahan se shuru karenge. But there are times we have to give children. I'm not denying that that thing is not going to happen in a structured space in a school. That will also happen. But right now, our focus is only 3 to 6 years, right? 6, 7 years. So in that time age group, what are we giving books to children? Let's give them books to explore, read, what, even if they flip through the book, They cannot read. They look at the pictures, the feel of the book. What is the cover page? What is the back page? Who has written this book? There are a lot of elements in every book that a child handles. So they look at the colors, they feel the paper, they see that this can be torn. There are times when children will tear the book, right? And let me share with you, most of my educators I had hard time impressing upon them, allow children to experience the books. Doesn't matter if they tear it apart. 2 दिन फाड़ेंगे, 3 दिन, जब तक फाड़ेंगे नहीं उसको उसकी वैल्यू समझ में नहीं आएगी, राइट? उसको फाड़ना क्यों है? क्योंकि वो नीड है, उसको देखना है इससे होता क्या है. The child is trying to construct knowledge around that, right? So when the child does it, it's an opportunity for the educator to say, let us respect books, right? If I get a cut on my finger, how do I feel? The book also feels the same way. So that is where is the role of an educator. But what do? We try and put the resources aside. No, children are going to spoil it. These are expensive. We may not get it again. So my request to you, dear educators, is don't even look at the resources जो आपको दिल पे ऐसे बांध के रखने पड़ेंगे. Keep them free, simple, usable resources. Okay, next one.
Neena ma'am, I would like to add on this that Madhubun has insured every book that we give to the student. So if the student happens to tear any one book, we provide free replacement. And for the same reason, that students should get an opportunity to explore. So teachers, if you're using Madhubun books, please be carefree. You can actually use this method.
Thank you, Imani, for sharing that. And I think it's an absolutely wonderful policy. Okay, now moving on to, see, कोई भी चीज हम करते हैं ना, जब नया कॉन्सेप्ट लाते हैं हम, तो उसका फिलॉसफी, उसके पीछे की सोच समझना बहुत जरूरी होता है. So that's the reason I'm not, it's not theoretical, it's all merged out of the experiences. That's why you see that whatever I have put as an image is something that reflects what I'm saying. So now we have to work with a very clear assumption, right? Now, what is that assumption? And this is something with complete conviction the educators must have. So all of us need to be totally convinced on 2 things. One, that each child has the capacity to learn, the capacity to grow, capacity to construct knowledge and create value, right? So वो capacity कम ज़्यादा नहीं है. Please remember that. हाँ, वो कम ज्यादा होगी 7, 8 साल, 10 साल में. Why? Because the child did not get to experience that in the initial years. Right now, we are talking only of the early years. So early years, they all have the same capacity, right? So please, this has to be, you have to really embed it and etch it in your mind and heart, more in your heart than in the mind. The second aspect is that every child has immense potential. In my journey of 20 years of running my own early childhood center, I did not come across a single child whom I could say that this child has zero potential. The potential would vary, and that's what makes them different. That's what makes them unique. But each child has the capacity, and each child has the child is born with that potential. Now, how much can we grow on to that? I'm not getting into the thing of the brain development, but how much can we build up on that network is where the role of an educator comes. And that is why value creating education is so very important. You may get the fanciest of the books, you may have the fanciest of the curriculum, you may have the fanciest of the infrastructure, and take away the teacher, leave some devices over there. What will happen? Do you think children will learn? No. So the role of educator is very important to bridge the distance between the environment and the child, to help the child to make meaning. So we are not making meaning for them. I want this to be very, very clear. We are only enablers, right? Next one. Now, if we want children to lead happy lives, is this, as I said, that value creating education is not about pouring knowledge? So what else do we need? We all are very, very well versed with the big funda that are coming. 21st century skills बच्चों को देना है, उसका एक अलग syllabus बनेगा, फिर उसकी एक module अलग बनेगा, उसकी किताब बने. अरे भाई, कुछ नहीं करने. If you can embed it in the first 6-7 years, you are sorted for the rest of your life, right? how critical and important these years. So other than just focusing on knowledge, and I'm going to give you a lot of examples around it, right? We need to develop qualities like mental strength, right? So the other day I was in a seminar and a workshop, and we were talking about a calm mind is a thinking mind. A calm mind is a thinking mind, right? And it was very beautifully stated, because that professional in the ECEC space from Australia and US had validated in her entire career and years of her experience in this sector, that if we create a calmness around children, we as educators are very calm, we are mentally strong, that no matter what happens, I'm going to be continuing with it. No matter if I have very difficult children, no matter I have very difficult parents, no matter I have a very difficult boss, no matter the curriculums have changed, I am going, because my focus is where? As an educator, my focus is just my children. So how do we build their mental strength? We all know some of these basic techniques of meditation, of deep breathing, of relaxation. It is simply so very important. And even if there are no separate periods for this, just 2 minutes of a break in every 40 minutes or half an hour, with this kind of a break, you can actually bring them back into their calm energy space. Emotional balance is so important. Their social and civic sensitivity. Now, all of us are really having, especially in country like India, where we feel that people don't have the civic sense, तो क्या पढ़े लिखे लोग हैं, फिर भी वो wall पे urinate करेंगे, पढ़े लिखे लोग हैं, and then they would still litter it. Why do we have to even do the basics even with adults and big children? Please do not litter. क्यों poster चाहिए? Right? So where is the civic sensitivity? We cannot even cross our road. The other day I was at the signal crossing a road, and there's a gentleman with the mobile, and he was trying to cross the road, and his signal was still not, it was still green. We were not allowed to cross it. And I had to literally hold his hand and bring him back. I said, Aapka accident ho jayega. You're not paying attention to the road. He says, ma'am, why are you doing this? I'm on an important call. I said, call is more important than life. And he said, no, I'm a pedestrian. People have to stop for me. I said, who says so? You're not following the rule. So I think it is extremely important here that we help children to develop social and civic. And I'm not saying we need to have separate classes for it. That is where the creativity of an educator comes in. Whatever I'm doing, how do I embed all these elements into whatever I'm doing? And it is possible. It is simply very possible. Now, this seesaw that you see here is actually meant for only 2 children. But these 5 girls decided to squeeze onto it, and they had so much of joy. Now, we could have said, no, it's only for 2 children. Please get away, take your time, sharing, caring, and all that stuff. But we just allowed them. Okay, you explore. ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा क्या होगा? हल्का सा है, topple हो जाएगा, गिर जाओगे. उसमें भी fun होगा. They will giggle, they will laugh, as long as they are safe, right? So these are some of the things we really need to allow our children to grow in their own ways, in their own space, and make their own meaning. How much ever we tell them instructionally, they will not understand. They need to experience it. Okay, next one. Now, value creating education always relates to real life, right? It is not divorced from real life. So if we want to embed value creating education, and value creating education doesn't mean you have to change your curriculum, you have to change something. All you have to do is be a little mindful as educators and bring that into whatever you are doing, right? So let's look at the first picture. In our center, we used to take children out to the local communities. Every school would have some construction site or some slum basti or some not so fortunate members ka school, anything, any space where these people are living. So we would like them to understand their environment, be sensitive, be open, be observant, be aware of everybody around them. So if we have to give them a realistic learning, that is a real life learning, it is preparing them for life. We think we are going to prepare them for life and they'll do their MBA. No, it's too late. MBA करने के बाद भी team building नहीं होगा. MBA करने के बाद भी conflict resolution नहीं होगा exam office में. right? So wo sara experience we have to give it to them during their early years. Then it becomes a way of life, and that is the way of life that needs to be given, and that is the whole purpose of the foundational years of learning. So in that sense, then community becomes a site of learning. Now, I'm not saying every day you take your children out. So community doesn't mean every day we have to, but we have to find many such occasions where what do? We'll take children to the rail museum. We'll take only children to the zoo. So there are very strict, standardized 2, 3, 4 places where we take children for an outing. When we were used to do community helpers or transport or helping each other or a joy ride, we would call a rickshaw fell inside. Not every child had sat on a rickshaw. And even if they had, the joy of doing it together, how many parents would have asked them, ki, theek hai, okay, chalo tum cycle chalane ka prayas karo? Not many. They thought, गिर जाओगे, इतने लोग मत बैठो, ऐसे मत करो, वैसे मत करो. But we allowed them to do all that. When they engage with nature, when they observe nature, when they observe things around them, they are enabled to grasp the realities of their home, school, town, city. So they're aware. Right? Many of us, as adults, I can guarantee you, आज आप अपना 2 किलोमीटर का रास्ता तय करना, and you tell me, if I ask you, okay, write down 15 things that are there in a radius of 2 kilometers or 3 kilometers from your house or from your school, I can 100% tell you half of you will not be able to write, because we are so engrossed in our own mind that we don't look around. We don't observe. Oh, really? Acha, ye yahi pe tha? Some friend comes and tell me, oh, really? I missed out for so many years. I've been just staying right there. How many of us have heard this statement? Right? So all I'm saying is value creating education is about making children observant, helping them to engage with people around them, with situations around them, and with the nature. Okay? And with anything and everything around them. But that engagement is very important. That observing is very important. Next. Okay. Now, very specifically, when I say value creation in early years, now what are the kind of, somebody said, कुछ particular values डालने हैं, तो वो value हमारा दिमाग कहाँ जाता है? Moral values पे. So we are not talking of moral values per se, right? So value creating education is basically preparing individuals for life, enabling those children to create value in their life, to be able to create value in somebody else's life. Difficult? No. Enabling them to create value in their life, become joyful, and create value in somebody else's life and make other life joyful. Now, uske liye role model kaun hai? Teacher, educator, no one else. So if the educator can create value in her life and create value in the child's life, child will do the same, and we will be creating a spiral. Okay. So there are a few points that I have experienced, we have practiced, and we found them very useful. Somehow very mystically, in this last week, 10 days, as I've started to give more trainings and webinars, a lot of my children who are now 20 years, 19 years, 21 years, have started to send their pictures. I wish I had prepared one here. It's not about seeing them, it's about their connection, their bond with us even today. So I'm going to spend just 5 minutes onto this particular slide. So let us have all children to be bright. Now, when I say be bright, it's not lipa poti karke be bright, cream laga ke be bright, expensive kapde Benetton ke pehen ke be bright. Be bright is being cheerful, right? No matter what, I should be cheerful in every situation. How many of us as adults can say 100% of the day I'm cheerful? Chalo, 50% of the day I'm cheerful. So if I am not, how can I give that to others? So let's focus on ensuring that our children are very bright and cheerful. Second is considerate. I had spoken about being sensitive and being aware of their environment. If they're considerate of others, we had this child from the age of 4 months, the child had hearing impairment. So the child at the age of 1.5 had cochlear implants, and the child came to us at the age of 4 months, and he stayed with us till he was 11 years in our, because we also had a daycare. Now, not even a single accident we had with that child. किसी एक बच्चे ने उसका कॉकलियर इम्प्लांट को हाथ नहीं लगाया, उसने अपना कॉकलियर इम्प्लांट कभी नहीं गिराया, right? So that is being considered. And these days centers and schools have to be inclusive. So our Anubhav Learning Center, the center that I had founded, was an inclusive school. And one of the things was not only to give an opportunity to children who were differently able to be part of the mainstream, but also to give an opportunity to our so-called normal children to be considerate to children and other people in their ecosystem. For example, if some child's mother's birthday or some child's mother was not well or somebody was not well in the family, our educators would specially go all about, talk to the child, know about it, and reach out to the parent or to the family to check on them. So that is being considered. So if a child has experienced this, then what will the child grow up to be? Uska value kya hoga? Okay, I have also to be considerate to others. Tenacious is being patient, perseverance. It's not that मैंने आज पेंसिल उठाई तो मुझे आज ही लिखना आ जाएगा, आज मैंने ब्रश उठाया तो मुझे आज ही पेंटिंग आ जाएगी. Children have also to be taught to that they will be able to do better and better and better, and they have to learn to wait. They have to have patience. It's not instant Maggie or noodles. They have to be really trained to become appreciative and grateful. If an educator is appreciative and grateful always to their environment, to the people around them, children are watching us all the time. They will do the same. If we are continuously praising, children will go around praising everybody. If we are continuously wearing a smile, children are bound to wear a smile. We have to make them adaptable and flexible. What happened with pandemic? Again, another COVID is in the on the car railway track. So if we are not adaptable and flexible, we cannot possibly be. We don't know whether children will get jobs. We don't know even the best companies, they will have a layoff. So we have to build in the adaptability and flexibility in them. You know, there were times when we used to do, we had told children, okay, tomorrow we're going to have a water activity. You know, we are going to enjoy the water pool. And we would decide intentionally that when children come all prepared, all excited, we will say, oh, sorry, we had less water. Sorry, we can't do the water activity. It's not because we couldn't do. It's just because we wanted children to be adaptable and have the ability to deal with the unexpected. If we are always providing what we had planned for, they will not know what is being flexible, adaptable, and how do we deal with the unexpected situations in life. Observant, sensitive, aware, I've already spoken about. Follow rules, I've already spoken. It's extremely important. Let's have rules for our class. What are the class rules? What are the school rules? You know, my grandson is 7 years old and he is in Australia. And I just asked him, he said, you know what, Tadi, children are the boss. And he gave me very quickly the motto and the philosophy and the rules of the school within a split of a second. How many of our children can state the rules? Unless and until we know, we practice those rules, we cannot embed that into our system. Next one, Ani, please. Maybe have the next slide. Yeah. Now, the next very important aspect is that we allow children to face difficulties. Now, especially in the Indian context, mommy will be carrying the bag. And a didi from a daycare or an early childhood center will try to help the child with everything. We don't really make them self-dependent. We don't really help them to put things back into the bag. So responsibility comes with self-dependency. And any small and big difficulty, you know, if let's say a child has fallen, we all have fallen, unless and until it's a big accident. Let's not create a panic. You know, I've seen many adults create a lot of panic. Oh, gir gya, beta, bacha, idhar aao. No, it's okay. I've fallen. I have to learn to get up. Rabe, we all fall. When we fall, we learn. If we don't, till they say, nahi, 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 abhi jhula pe mat jana, gir jaoge tum. So we have curbed, cut there and then, not to be adventurous, not to try the new path, just be in the comfort well, right? And that's all we have become. And the result. Now, there's a very cute story. I'm sure all of you know that. I'm not going to narrate the story of the merchant and the donkey story. We all know कि क्या हुआ? वो donkey क्या ले जा रहा था? Salt ले जाता. और वो salt पानी में घुल गया. वो बैठा तो उसने देखा ये तो मेरा मिल गया. Amazing. So after a few days, the trader realized that there's something going wrong. And then he said, okay, let me teach him a lesson. And he loaded the donkey with cotton. When the donkey sat, he was foolish. So he had all the cotton soaked up water and the load become heavier. So the point I'm trying to make here is the heavy load. All children will be carrying heavy loads, not physical heavy load, emotional loads also. There will be time they'll not get along well with their fellows, classmates. There will be time when they will not get along with their parents. There'll be time when they will be scolded by their teachers. All that is normal. Okay, but it is important for them to understand. Now, that understanding only a compassionate educator can help them understand. But if we don't do it now, when else will we do it? Right? So please don't overprotect them and give them everything that they ask for. Okay, even as parents. Yeah, next one. Now, there are 3 bonds, as I said right from the beginning: interaction with and bonds amongst. So there are 3 levels of bonds: teacher-student bond, student and student bond. Now, this could be horizontal within the class, but it is very important that we also create opportunities for vertical student to student bond. KG के बच्चे हैं, class 2 में भी हैं कभी-कभी, right? Because वो जो across age learning and opportunity hai, that's very amazing. And teachers have to be very creative to create these kind of opportunities for children. Now, very important. If teachers think I am here only because of my student. No, sorry. Teacher bond is also very important. One educator is doing wonderful, right? In the class, they've been able to manage certain things. It's been very creative in handling some difficult behaviors. Let other educators also learn, but we are sitting with one big ego. Okay, if someone has done good, I'm not going to learn from that person. I will create my own project. I will not learn from that. So we keep reinventing our own wheels, right? And we pass the whole. So these 3 levels, both horizontal and vertical, are very important. Yeah. So these are very important elements of value creating education. Now, when we talk of value creating education, then an educator is not a teacher. They're not teaching, they're fostering. And when I say fostering, what are they doing? They are actually preparing them for life. They're nurturing them. They're enabling them. They're empowering them. So we are not, teaching is only subject focused, knowledge focused. Fostering is beyond that, what we call a holistic development. They are engaging with children. They are ensuring that children engage with other children, engage with the teacher, engage with the resources, engage with the nature, and engage with everything around them, even maybe with a mosquito and a fly and a butterfly, right? So it's not instructional. Okay, let me give you a very interesting example here. Okay, let's say we have taken children out. Okay, we tell them, hey, there's the sun. Okay, look at the sun. Zyada kya hoga? Sun. Okay, so we all know sun is round. We come back, every child can draw a sun. I've yet to come across a child who doesn't know how to draw a sun. Correct? So that's probably one of the first things, because we all learn the circle shape first. But if the educator is creative, even if they are doing weather, where they're doing seasons, they can create so much and learning around sun, and which is integrated and which is holistic. Okay, let's understand. So we are doing sun. It's a hot day, right? So we are doing a conversation with children. It's a very hot day. So hot day means the sun is very strong today. So, okay. So how did you experience the sun? So let children talk in their circle time. So someone says it's very hot, I'm sweating. Yes, okay, show me the sweat. I don't see any sweat. Right? So we talk of the color of the sun. We've done the color, we've done the shape concept, we've done the functions of the sun, right? And then because they felt it, they felt the heat of the sun. They've gone out and say, okay, if we keep this thing outside, all these leaves that we have kept out, or these wet towels, we are going to keep it out, and what will happen? Let's see. So all of you can do this. Okay, let's see what the sun will do to them. Okay, if the sun is very strong, how do I feel on my head? Okay, it's the temperature, it's hot. Okay, what do I do? So there's a problem solving. What do I do to do this? There's a mathematical skill. Sun is one. But when we are talking of equality in that, we say the sun is one, but it gives heat and energy to everyone. And is it divided? Ki isko jada denge, isko kam denge? So can we do the sun ka story and talk to them about how just and sun is? Equality hai usme. So what I'm just trying to do we need a special curriculum for this? All we need is our little creativity. Okay? And how do we integrate it with anything and everything? So we're using a far and near ka concept, one and many ka concept. These are the small little pre-number concepts we do with our children. So we can do that. We can do the rays concept. Rays again take you to this concept of geometry eventually, right? So how many rays are you drawing? Someone is drawing a straight ray. This is an angle ray, and then some are falling ray, some are straight ray, some are standing ray, some are slant ray. So we have all these patterns also that come in, which will eventually go as part of pattern writing. Okay. Let's say engaging versus instructional. Okay. Now we're taking children out. Okay. I know all of you will say, "Sara time bahar to nahi le ja sakte, ma'am, hum." So andar ki bhi baat kare. So we've taken children out and we want them to explore nature. Okay. Let's say in your school garden, there are 4-5 trees, there are grasses, there are shrubs, there is soil, there is flowers. So what do we say? We're not giving any instruction. We're just helping children to engage with nature. So we could say that, okay, let's find out what is the feel of the trees and the leaves, what is rough, what is smooth, what is soft, what is heavy, what is light, what is tall, what is short, what is high. So many things. What are the colors around that we see? Right? So we don't have to essentially bring out ki brown color abhi humne class mein kara, fir usne ek worksheet mein color kar diya. Learning ends there only. When they go out, they apply that learning. They're actually learning from their real environment. Let's take the example of a fan. I'm very fond of these examples, right? Fan har room mein hai. Is there any house, any classroom where there is no fan? No. In the Indian scenario, we all have fans. So I would like you to now dwell upon and think of n number of things from your environment. And these are very short breaks that you can take when you feel that, and you embed it into your learning. Okay, so this is what is value creating learning. Learning from your real life experience, helping them to create value, help them to create their own knowledge, help them to create it with their own efforts, right? What all do they see on the fan? How do they feel the fan, the air concept, the slow and fast concept, the blades on the fan, how many blades we can do a physical activity with. Let's create the blades of the fan. So one children stand like this, 2 children stand like this, they cross the arm. They do a lot of creative things around it. So it is just the fan. But we have picked up anything and everything and we create our own curriculum. So let's move next, Mani. Okay, now usually what is the problem? Even though we say it is a era and it is 21st century is mobile and technology century with lots of communication at the click of the button, but there is actually in this century communication disorder. And all educators must, a requirement is that they must develop the art of and build the art of conversation, first among themselves and then build the same amongst their children. Now, what are the key elements of this art of conversation to avoid communication disorder? आपको पता है आजकल सबके घर में सब लोग अलग-अलग बैठे हैं, अलग-अलग फोन पे खेल रहे हैं, टीवी अलग-अलग देख रहे हैं because no two program they want to do the same, etc. And same goes for children. They don't want to eat without a device. They will always say कि मुझे incentive दो, पहले मेरे को इतना टाइम मैं काम करूंगा तब मुझे ये मिलेगा, right? तो हमारे इंटरेक्शन बहुत लेन देन वाली, ट्रेडिंग वाली हो गई. So that is what is communication disorder. So what are the elements of this art of communication, which is very, very at core of the value creating education? The compassionate interaction. So I would like all of you to reflect how many times when I'm interacting with my children or with my co-teammates, am I having a compassionate interaction? Am I making a dialogue? Am I going beyond my subject with my teachers? I mean, with my students? How much do I know about them? उनके घर में क्या हो रहा है, उनके घर में कैसी स्थिति है, किसी फादर का जॉब तो नहीं चला गया, मम्मी बीमार तो नहीं है, उनके ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स भी क्या. So we really need to have such dialogue with children, and doesn't require much time. We all have that half an hour, 20 minutes of a meal time. That is the time when we can encourage children to freely express themselves in a very comfortable and a relaxed way, and that's what we have done. Right? In very, very simple way. We know everything. Sometimes parents used to come to me and say, ma'am, but you are never in a class, so how do you know so much about each child? Because our educators would speak with children, and then on a daily basis, we all would interact and share about each child. So dialogue is important. Free expression is very, very important. Child should never be inhibited to come and say to you, कभी उसको shut up मत बोलो, कभी उसको रोको मत कि नहीं अभी मुझे पहले खत्म करने दो. Say, okay, come and sit next to me. Okay, let's hear it. There are times when you're doing a story that the maximum and children will come with their own stories, right? So we can always embed their little stories in between and create a story. Encouragement. Children want immense encouragement. The more we encourage, the more we praise them, the more higher is their self-confidence. And if they are confident, they will grow and develop very beautifully into happy beings. Now, how do we encourage children to communicate? Because I said it's in the social setting, in the real life setting, with their society and nature. So we need to do a lot of constructive activities, projects, because these are the things which, when they do, it leads to balanced physical and spiritual growth. Now, spiritual doesn't mean a particular set of religion. To us, it is humanism. When I say humanism, it is the kindness, the compassion, how you feel for others, how you want to contribute to others, how do you want to share with others, the shared joy, the shared struggle. That is what we mean by spiritual growth. Next. So usually children have a flight from learning. They don't want to come into the फिर मैम शुरू हो जाएगी, फिर मम्मी पापा शुरू हो जाएंगे. So why do we have to have a system where children there is a flight from learning? But we need to convert this into a joyful learning. So when there's a joyful learning, now here are these children learning any subject? No, it's learning the art of being together, the social health, which is jeopardizing completely on a downward trend. And we are all talking about mental health, mental health, mental health. अरे mental health तभी ठीक होगा जब social health ठीक होगा. So social health बहुत important है. Child doesn't know 10 colors, no problem. Child has 10 friends, very good. उसका assessment is way better than having 10 colors. Okay, next one. Now, when both educators and students create value, they both become happy. So it's not a teacher is obliging the student. The teacher is also getting a lot of happiness. The teacher will look forward to it. So if when we are getting into this rhythm, into this process of value creating education, both in the ecosystem are happier because they're both creating value. Yeah, next one. So there are some preconditions to create value. Now, what are these preconditions? So if your child in your environment is not feeling safe and secure, is not loved and trusted and not respected, then that child will never create value. It goes even for adults. If as an adult, you don't feel safe in an environment, do you think your mind will work? Will you think out of the box? No, never. Right? So we must feel safe and secure. If we need that, our children need more than that. And if we give them, they will not grow up to be adults like us who don't feel safe, who don't feel loved, who don't feel. I'm also a humanistic coach and I come across this so often. I'm not loved, I'm not trusted, I'm not respected. But what we need to do is that we need to help them to first love themselves, to first respect themselves, and teacher is no one better than anybody else. If the teacher shows a lot of love, respect, and makes the environment safe and secure, then that child is bound to create value. Next, please. May I have the next slide? Yeah. So what is the essence of the value creating education? Eventually, it is nothing but character formation. It is nothing but forming those habits right in the early years, and whatever you sow in the early years is going to continue for life. At 10th grade, 12th grade, it's not just the same children will be able to cope up with failure. The same children will be able to cope up with the academics, with all their extracurriculars, everything, because we have sown those seeds in the early years. We've already created that network in their brain in the early years. So character formation is the most important thing. आप कितना मर्जी डंडा में लगा लो 10वीं क्लास में 8वीं क्लास में एडल्ट्स को लेट अस डू दिस सॉफ्ट स्किल्स आप थोड़ा सा करोगे उसको पैसा कमाना है वो सॉफ्ट स्किल सीख जाएगा उसकी लाइफ में नहीं उतरता वो I have seen that in my 35 years of my professional journey. Whatever you give to children stays forever. What you give to middle school children, 50-60% gets absorbed. What you give to high school children, 30% gets absorbed. What you give to adults, maybe 20% will get absorbed. That's it. That's how the ratio is, right? So these years are very critical. You're all doing a wonderful job. Just tweak it a little bit. Now, how do we live in society and to think independently? So what are the key elements of your foundational years of the value creating education? Is character formation, habit formation, how do we live in society, the social behavior, the rules and regulations, what is around us, and to be able to think independently. Never ever cut the opinions of children. Allow them to form their opinion, allow them to voice their opinion, articulate. Today, if they can do it, tomorrow they will be able to do it. Allow them to value everybody around, all resources, including human. Next. Okay, now teachers are the most important. I've been saying this, harping, and I'm going to close it also quickly, that they are the most important element in the education, and more so when we talk of the value. So value creating education will become value creating when teachers know that they are the most important element, right? Now, interaction between the student and teacher. Now, students' lives are not impacted by subjects, but by their teachers. Next one. Now, what is it that the teacher needs, the educator needs to do? The educator needs to believe in every child's potential and care about their happiness. If I don't believe, right, what I started from, that the assumption, the basis, we have to believe in them. We have to believe they have the capacity and the potential, right? So now very important, I'm going to come and validate it with a small story, short story. So smallest failures can destroy the child's confidence. और एक बार अगर एक बच्चे का confidence खत्म हो गया, उसको revive करना और regain करना, जिंदगी निकल जाती है. I have clients who are 30 years, 40 years, and I am having hard time helping them rebuild their confidence which they had lost in their childhood. But the smallest catalyst can trigger growth. So you as educators are those catalysts, right? So you can create and trigger that. And what is that? Through praise, through continuous encouragement, through your warmth, through your compassion. So as educators, please resolve to praise children every single day. I want to share one thing very small. I don't know how many of you are aware of it. There was this particular educator, and she would say, okay, girl, children, let's do drawing, whatever you want to draw. And this kid would just keep sitting and say, ma'am, but I don't know how to draw. Ma'am, I don't know how to draw. She said, no, you draw whatever you want to draw. So she kept scribbling on the paper, and she would look left, right, center, and she would feel very offended that she doesn't even know, and all her classmates are doing so beautifully. The teacher picked up only her paper. She took it, and this child was very fearful. What will the teacher say tomorrow? Next day, when this teacher arrives in the class, she frames it, laminates it, and she puts it on the wall. And when this kid's coming, she said, you know what? I just found that this is our best painting. So I would want this child to tell us what she did. And she actually created a story around what she was not able to draw, but she could express it in words. And that child from that experience started to encourage similar children who came into her class who could not do. Because that one teacher had hope in that child, had faith in that child, had boosted the child's self-confidence. So wash away the stain of any criticism. We all have labels on the child. ये stupid है, ये dapper है, ये बहुत super intelligent है, ये बहुत ये है, ये बहुत वो है, ये बिल्कुल ये नहीं है. Please, for God's sake, no labels, no criticism. Go back to the basics. They all have the same capacity. They all have the same potential, right? It's up to us how much can we draw from that well. Next one. Okay, so here I would just like to give you a quick story again of another educator. So now there was this educator who had a couple of children in her class, especially this particular child who she was just not able to crack with. And she found this was very difficult to deal with this child, to make her show any progress in that child. And our progress is only academic, right? So she was talking to her colleague, and that teacher said, you know what? Don't stress so much. These children are like, we have to learn from nature. किसी भी tree के 30-40% produce goes waste, you know. So don't spend so much of energy and time onto it. Just let it be. You focus on other children who have the capability to do it. So while she got swayed and she internalized that, after a few days, she saw this particular child sitting outside alone and putting some things together, and she created something, and to her own self, she said, oh, wow, I did it, right? And this teacher was observing, and she realized her mistake and the folly. And she said, today, in this moment, I resolved that I'm not going to let go of any child. No. So what she made that child realize that you also have the ability, you try it and you can do it. You try it and you can succeed. So make sure that each child walks out of your classroom with the confidence that they can do anything if they really try. Now that's the point, if they really tried. So as educators, we have to really help them to try, not with a lot of scolding and pushing and but with a lot of patience and perseverance, with a lot of encouragement and warmth. Next one. Okay, now it's easy to find a teacher who imparts knowledge, but very difficult and hard to find a teacher who teaches the kids how to live their life, right? And now at this point, I'm going to take a few seconds break. I want to ask you to close your eyes and just go back in the memory lane and remember that one teacher or two teachers from whichever class, I don't care, from school, college, you remember, who really you remember even today, who is in your active memory. And I want you to put in the chat box, why do you remember that teacher? Even if you don't want to put in the chat box, it's absolutely okay. Just write it with you, because this is something I want you to take back with. So who is that teacher or teachers? Usually it's one or two. I have till now, मेरे को तो किसी ने नहीं बताया. They have 100 teachers that they remember. It'll max 3, 1 to 3. So very few. We all study from 20, 30, 40 teachers, and we only remember 2. So sad. Were our teachers, right? So I just want you to remember that. Oh, my KG teacher. Mrs. Kakkar says my KG teacher. Wow, wonderful. Now, what I want you to reflect upon is that why do you remember that teacher? What was that special interaction? She was very polite. And what you will deduce from this little exercise that I gave you is that you will never remember a teacher. उसको आपको याद भी नहीं होगा उसने क्या पढ़ाया था, कौन सी किताब से पढ़ाया था. आपको किताब की मेमोरी भी नहीं होगी, बट आपको उस टीचर की शक्ल याद होगी, उसके एक्शंस याद होंगे, उसका बिहेवियर याद होगा, right? So dear educators, we need to become like that one teacher who inspired you. So that person is your role model. Next one. Okay, so someone else is also saying another KG teacher. Kya baat hai? So that means even in the past, our early year teachers were so good. So be that one unforgettable teacher, right? So how do you become an unforgettable teacher? You're all getting answers, huh? Her appreciation every day, her praise and all. Okay, so wear the badge of creativity. Even when you're greeting a child, हम लोग क्या बोलते हैं बच्चों? Okay, say good morning. देखो आंटी आई है, good morning बोलो उनको. Every time it's instructional. Poem सुनाओ. अरे क्यों सुनाए? कोई स्टेज पे आए हैं जो पोएम सुनाएंगे वो, right? So all you have to say is badge of creativity. Really be creative as to how do I deal with my children? How do I really tell them? If I have to teach them the alphabet A, what are the different ways I can do? Don't go on Google. Please don't go on Google. ये बहुत बड़ा है यहाँ आपके पास, इसको यूज कर लो. 5 minutes, if you calm yourself down, you will come up with brilliant idea. I can guarantee you. All those of you sitting here will create superb curriculum. And I'm not saying you create curriculum जो है करो, उसको tweak करो, उसको सिर्फ tweak करो, creatively उसको handle करो. आपके पास एक framework आया curriculum में, उसको tweak करो, उसमें आपको कोई नहीं रोकेगा because आपने CBSE के exam नहीं देने हैं early years में, right? So that's the beauty, that's the best part of our early years teaching. So wear the badge of creativity, that yes, I am that one creative teacher. Now again, creativity, a lot of people think creativity, अरे मुझे तो art and craft नहीं आता. Hello, art and craft तो मुझे भी नहीं आता. But I consider myself to be super creative, right? Creativity demands constant effort and it's a struggle. It doesn't come easy. You have to put lot of pressure here and here. अगर दिल से चाहोगे बच्चों के लिए कुछ करना तो फिर यहाँ प्रेशर डाल सकोगे. अगर यहाँ पे नहीं है कुछ तो यहाँ प्रेशर नहीं आएगा. So thoughts and action is a struggle. Creative teachers raise creative children. So अब आपको कैसे बच्चे चाहिए आने वाले समय में? And you be the role model. So be the role model that you've just written in the chat box. Next one. Okay, so these are some of the pictures of, how different life skills, how going creative with cracks. And when we're doing color, just collect everything that is around in the school and just allow children to categorize, pick up, see. So it was a red and yellow day. Bring everything that you see around, bring everything that you have at home to reinforce the learning. So here you have these florist, right? So it was not just कि बच्चे तैयार होके आ गए and I've become a florist. Okay, I say one line. Very good, clapping. Okay, you did become a florist. No. What does the florist do? Why do we buy flowers? So they had to do the complete role play. They had to do the pretend play. Can you see these two children being so happy, smiling, greeting, sharing, holding hands, taking the flowers from the florist? So that is what we want to say, saying thank you to the florist. कि भी फ्लोरिस्ट को ध्यान भी दिया, अरे भाई बना देना जरा एक बुके, हाँ 3-4 डाल देना, अरे सड़े हुए फूल बिल्कुल मत डालना. So this is how we are teaching children. भुट्टा, कितने बच्चों ने घर में भुट्टा खोला होगा? Corn of the cob. So we have never helped our children do all these things. So please, these are the life skills that are needed. Okay, the next one. So value creating education leads to holistic development automatically. Right? When you're always thinking, I said sun, weather करा रहे थे, sun आया, sun से maths आया, sun से equality आया, sun से color आया, shapes आए, sun से language आई, sun से rhymes बन गई, sun से आप story बना लो, or you can weave a story sitting there. Children are superb at weaving them. You can do science by doing a wet and dry experiment. So can you see everything happens? This one sun. It can happen with anything. You give me one onion, I'll tell you everything that you can do. You have an onion race, you pull out the rings, you do a painting, you do the inside, outside, the colors, the flakes, you keep counting. That children, each child will take 2 hours to peel the onion and remove the flakes and feel it. Children learn through they're all very sensorial. So holistic development, I don't need to talk about. Everything that we do, we have to see. There's something called a check. So we do a curriculum check that, okay, I've done all this. What are the areas did I miss out? My physical development took place. My language development happened. My cultural issues happened. Pretend play happened. Was there enough time for self-learning, to be with myself, my own space? So all that would come to you would become more aware of when you are part of the value creating education stream. Yeah. So foundation years are truly significant for building such a foundation. It's up to us what kind of a foundation we want to lay. A foundation of ABC rhymes and number 1, 2, 3, or a foundation for life. That's a choice, and our children's life, their future, the future generations are going to be determined by the choice we educators make about the kind of foundation we want to give. Next one. Okay. So, dear educators, I call you all from today on, please wear the badge that you are all value creating educators. So please have a long term perspective. Don't think कि मेरा 1 साल मेरे क्लास में बच्चे हैं, 2 साल में आपने जो 1 साल में करा वो उसके साथ सारी जिंदगी. अभी आ रहे हैं ना केजी के बच्चों, केजी टीचर्स के नाम आ रहे हैं, तो वो आपको याद करने वाले हैं सब बच्चे. So you be the role model. So what have you to do? Be the compassionate educators. Be very passionate about your profession. Take pride in your profession. Okay, and be learners. You have to be lifelong learners if you have to impact. If you think you know enough, you are a B.Ed, you have done your early childhood certification diploma, enough. I have done 10 years of experience, enough. I'm learning even today at the age of 61, right? Because things are changing, problems are changing, solutions are changing, children are changing, their DNA is changing. So we have to deal with them differently. Okay, next one. So my dear value creating educators, you are humanistic educators, because value creation education, the center, the core is being humanistic. That is the human being. So we are all human beings. Let us be better human beings. Let us make our children better human beings. I will never ever touch on the subject because subject teachers are never remembered, and I want to be remembered. I'm being selfish. Okay, so let us be and let us bring in and bring this flow of the value creation education, which is nothing separate. It is not a parallel thing. It is something that you have to embed within whatever you are doing, and you all can do it. I'm 100% confident because I believe in your capacity. I believe in your potential, and I also believe that you will believe in your child's capacity and the potential. So thank you very much. I think my last slide is just this is an ode to my mentor, from whom I have learned value creating education. It's a philosophy. If any of you would want to know about, this is called Soka education. Soka education is something that I firmly believe in. I've practiced all my 2-3 decades. So there is no genuine education without earnest life-to-life interaction and inspiration. People grow through their interaction with people. By Dr. Daisaku Ikeda. So thank you very much for your patience. I think I have taken more time, but I'm very sorry. मैं तो बह जाती हूँ. So that's about being a value creating and a humanistic educator. Thank you very much, and for listening to me.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I think the messages say it all. Thank you, ma'am. Lovely session, wonderful session. It's so a lot of messages, and even I have been so engrossed in the session. I've heard every bit of it. I've yet to attend a session which is so impactful. And yes, you've changed the whole meaning of value creating educators from moral education, moral values, to actually creating human beings, to actually developing human beings, which is the most important thing, and which is what I feel NCF, NEP, the crux, the core of all of these today has become. Because like you said, that being human, being basically human with all the flesh and blood, you can cry, you can, understanding your emotions, understanding others, is something that we've forgotten or missed out as we race through life. That is what we need to re-imbibe. So anybody has any questions at this point, you can ask, ma'am. You can unmute and ask. You can put it up in the chat box. I'll take them up. Your feedbacks, some more feedbacks, we would appreciate them in the chat box.
And
Any
please
questions?
be constructive and creative. Okay, you don't have to only say very good, very good, very good. I'm also looking for a constructive feedback. There's something that I need to take back and I need to learn.
So anything anybody would like to ask? Like ma'am said, this is just an onset of the foundations sessions. We'll see ma'am more often. We have sessions scheduled for entire year or even more, as and how you keep requesting for them. And we'll meet every first and third Saturday of every month. And we plan to have a lot of sessions going on that ways. If whatever questions you have, even if you're not able to answer them right away, or then they're beyond the scope of today's topic, we'll take them up in the eventual coming up topic. Even if you don't have a question right away, put it up in the group. You all are a part of the WhatsApp group. We'll forward it to the mentors and we'll connect you to them if needed, and we'll take them up in the eventual sessions. The aim of Foundations and Early Childhood Community by Madhubun is to handhold every early childhood educator to help them create, a generation and a community of students which is beyond imagination. There is no other. You see our mentors, they're not just full of energy, they are passionately involved in early childhood care and education. And that is what we want to pass on to all the educators connected with us. So there are no questions. So that means you've really, all of you, been so engrossed in the session like me.
Maybe it was too complicated.
No, ma'am. It was actually, you made everything so simple. And I must say, on behalf of all the educators, that the images that you used were so impactful. And today I understand that the effect of real-time images, we could actually connect to each thing that you say. When you see created images from Google, they also are they also are very effective. I'm not saying that. But then real life images have a totally different impact on you. And that's what I realized today. They kind of give you a different perspective to everything that you're listening. So I think today I'm more convinced with clicking more pictures wherever I go.
I have such a big repository of pictures that for me to pull these out was in itself a job.
I'm sure. So, all right. So on this note, then, thank you so much, Neena, ma'am. Thank you, educators, for joining us and staying tuned throughout the session. Ma'am, not even a single educator dropped out ever since they joined in. So that speaks volumes about the session. And once again, we'll share the feedback form on the WhatsApp group. Please do fill it. As soon as you fill in the feedback form, you'll get the certificates. That's an automatic process. Make sure you fill your name on the name column, not the name of the school, so that the certificate comes in your name. This is one of the queries a couple of educators have had. And thank you. We'll see you again now on the first Saturday of May, I believe. No, on the third. Right. On the third Saturday, on the 15th. Actually, I had one question for all of you. Is it all right with everyone if we begin the session on the 15th of April at 5 o'clock? If you can just give me a thumbs up, it'll be easier. Our next session is scheduled on 15th April. Is it all right with everybody if we begin the session at 5 instead of 4? I've just got one thumbs up. I don't know if I agree. All right, a lot of yeses. Perfect. So the next session, which is on the 15th, will be scheduled from 5 to 6. Thank you so much. Looking forward to see you on the 15th of April, and a very happy April Fool's Day. Though the days pass.
We didn't make any man a fool.
We instead made a very productive day out of it today. Thank you so much. Thank you. Good evening. Namaskar.
To each one. Bye-bye. And have a great, great weekend. Bye-bye. Thank you, Himani.
Yes, ma'am.
And your team.
Thank you so much. Thank you, entire team of Madhubun.